Hello guys, welcome to Global Happenings. Today we have a trending news here for you. And the headline of the news read, Buhari finally react at last, giving reasons why Sowore was rearrested by DSS. But before we continue with details of the news and for the analysis, we'd like to encourage you to please subscribe to the channel by clicking on the red subscribe button and also on the bell icon so that you can get notification anytime we publish videos on YouTube. All right, let's listen to the news.
The Presidency on Sunday posited that the rearrest newspaper politician Omoyele Sowore is a person of interest to the Department of State Services (DSS) and not ordinary human rights activists. Recall that despite the court order, he was rearrested at the court premises in Abuja last week by the service, an action that has drawn widespread condemnation. But reacting to the rearrest, the Presidency, in a statement issued by Abuja by Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to the President, Media and Publicity, reiterated its accusation that Sowore called for a revolution to overthrow the democratically elected government of Nigeria. It said no government will allow anyone to destabilize the country. The statement reads, the Presidency knows some of the insinuations in the media about the arrest by the Department of State Services (DSS) of the agitator Omoyele Sowore. DSS does not necessarily need permission of the Presidency in all cases to carry out its essential responsibilities that are laid down in the Nigerian Constitution, which was the foundation for the restoration of democracy in our country in 1999. However, it should not surprise anyone who has followed his actions and words that Sowore is a person of interest to DSS. Sowore called for a revolution to overthrow the democratically elected government of Nigeria. He did so on television and from a privileged position as the owner of a widely read digital newspaper run from the United States of America. He founded an organization, Revolution Now, to launch, in their own words, days of rage with the publicized purpose of fomenting mass civil unrest and the elected administration's overthrow. No government will allow anybody to openly call for destabilization in the country and do nothing. Mr. Sowore is no ordinary citizen, expressing his views freely on social media and the internet. He was a presidential candidate himself who ran and lost as a flag bearer of the African Action Congress (AAC) in the February 23 general elections. Nigeria's democracy was a long time in the making and was achieved after decades of often harsh military-led overthrows of government, the kind of situation Sowore was advocating. To believe in and desire armed revolution is not normal amongst human rights activists, as Sowore has been incorrectly described. Again, it is no surprise that he should be a person of interest to the DSS. Nigeria is already dealing with an insurgency that has left millions of people displaced and desperate in the northeastern region of our country. The Boko Haram militants who are behind the violence also fancy themselves to be fighting for some sort of revolution. Nigerians do not need another spat of lawlessness and loss of lives, all in the name of revolution, especially not one that is orchestrated by a man who makes his home in faraway New York and who can easily disappear and leave behind whatever instability he intends to cause with Nnamdi Kanu. This is a matter that for the DSS acting under its powers.
All right, thank you very much for that nice read. And we want to look at this issue. That was what Nigerians were actually waiting for, to hear the president talk about the issue of the arrest of Sowore. But before we go into explanation, before that analysis, we would like to read some of the reactions of Nigerians. And one say here, is there any individual who threatened this country more than Muhammadu Buhari before he became the president? Wow, that's an epic one. Another person said, this statement may not mean anything to some people. Even Boko Haram and ISIS have sympathizers. That's why people volunteer to join them. Most of the time, emotion overtake human beings and they don't reason straight. All I know is that some people have virtually everything they own abroad, and if the country become a war zone, it's none of their concern because their families are not even in the country. Some are even citizens of other countries. It's a shame that we allow sentiment to be cloud our sense of reasoning. That's another person reacting from a different perspective. Another one here says, one of the best way to describe this government is the way they lie and twist things. And the most annoying part is that they are so dumb that they can't even do it perfectly. People will always see through their lies. Wow. We have another one here, and the person said, Mr. Gabba Shehu, what goes around comes around. Today, the government machine is yours to well, but remember, it can't be there forever. A lot of reactions by Nigerians, but we want to look at these critically. The president has reacted, and some of the things that they have said, it's quite amazing to Nigerians. For example, talking about comparing the action of Sowore with that of Boko Haram, and I don't see any correlation between the two. You know, Boko Haram from day one had been a militant group, a terrorist group. When we talk about terrorism, to the peak, you know, these are the people who go around, kill, kidnap, destroy lives. And this is not the same thing with what Sowore was soliciting for. All what he needed was for the generality of Nigerians to enjoy the people they voted into power. This guy is no more with Sowore. I'm talking about Oludare, Bakare. He's no more with, I think during the process of trying to arrest Sowore, he took to his heels, he escaped. And there's a video trending right now where he came out to explain what they're trying to pursue, which is really a good cause. You know, they're trying to make sure that Nigeria become the country that we are hoping it will become. And they are pushing the leadership hard to ensure that it's a reality. But this is not how these guys are seeing it. Instead, they're talking about Sowore to be a terrorist, and that very soon he may even take to his heel after he has caused issues in Nigeria. I want to say here that this is not true. To some extent, it's not true. The only thing that I think they are really capitalizing on is the word that he used, which is revolution. But the essence of it was for Nigerians to go on a protest to tell the world that we're not happy with what we are seeing. And the essence of it was to register displeasure, but never to go with arms. And during the period, the short time that people stepped out to do whatever they did that they do, Sowore was not in the lead as expected, because before August 5th, he was already arrested. We saw that people were just talking. All what they were doing was just talking. There was nothing like killing. There was nothing like scattering anything. And I think it's what they're saying about him is not really true as being portrayed by them. Let me give my colleague a chance. What do you think about the statement made by the presidency in respect to the rearrest of Sowore?
Well, from all indication, the presidency is trying to let us know that much as they know about Sowore and issues that is following Sowore, they are not in total know of why DSS rearrested Sowore. In fact, where they went about it, they're like saying, we didn't give that directives. The DSS have their rights, they have their responsibilities, they have used their discretions to rearrest Sowore. But I have my questions and I have a bit of my doubts. And one of them is the fact that, nobody, no agency is above the law. Now, in our constitution, there's no place where it is written that DSS have the power to overturn or to undermine the judiciary. So if the judiciary at any point in time have granted bail and they have Sowore have perfected the bail, and 2 times they flouted, they disobeyed the judiciary's order, court order concerning it, and eventually when they released Sowore barely 17 hours after they picked him up, it clearly shows that from their actions they are above the law. From their actions, maybe it is estranged in our constitution that DSS is the only body that is above, judiciary, and that's I don't know, maybe it's just me that's not seeing it in the constitution, maybe it's in another person's constitution, but honestly, I feel this is a slap on the judiciary. And if the presidency say it's not in the know about this, that maybe DSS have their reasons for doing so, then that means DSS is now open for scrutiny, which means the presidency is saying that they did not order DSS to rearrest Sowore. That cleared. Then we should now look out for, judiciary should now look out for talking to the boss of DSS to release, if the boss is not in the know, because it looks like everybody is not in the know anymore. Let the DSS boss release the men who rearrested Sowore. Release Sowore for the now, because that's what the bail term says. Really remove him from detention. Then whatever it is, you may need to walk around getting a warrant of arrest if you need to rearrest him, and you state your reason. That is what the rule of law on this ground says. But yet it is not being obeyed, which means the judiciary is obeyed when it suits them. And I feel that it is wrong. But I would have also expected, now that the presidency have said tactically that is actually not the one that sent DSS to do so, but they all have the responsibility. Then the judiciary to also have the responsibility. But if there is a clash, then it doesn't make any sense. We're no longer in democracy, because I believe that there should be a common ground for both parties, where execution of the law and interpretation of the law meet, and it is perfectly done. So for me, I feel that there is a switch here that is not connecting. There's a connection tube that's not fitting well, and maybe with time, things will unfold and we'll get to know what is really behind the screen that we are not seeing.
All right, thank you very much. According to DSS, it said Sowore is a man of according to the presidency, that they have so much interest. They've given their reasons why there is so much interest in Sowore. But all the same, I want us to go to our comment section and let us interact. What's your position on the reasons that they have given about the rearrest of Sowore? Do you think that it is ideal to continue violating the constitutional rights of Sowore? Don't forget that he was released 12 hours after, I think 15 hours after he was rearrested, and Nigerians are not seeing that as being normal. But there are some other things which I want to just say here, and one of it is that Femi Falana had came up and opened up some secret truths about what had happened, that the lead of the team of DSS that arrested Sowore in the court actually came back to meet with Justice Ijoma Ojukwu to apologize. That was the word of Falana, that they came back to apologize to Justice Ijoma Ojukwu, that they are sorry for what they did, which means that they understand that it was actually against the law, that their statement that the whole thing was orchestrated by the supporters of Sowore was not true, because he was present as at the time the lead person for that team of DSS that arrested Sowore came around. So a lot of things have happened which we are yet to really get to the bottom, but Don't forget also that the presidency have gone further to deny that they don't have any hand in whatever that is happening, that is strictly in the purview of DSS to do what they just did, which means that with this, DSS can be sued because the truth of the matter is that they have undermined the office of the judiciary, as the last arm of the government. And not just that, they have also desecrated the sanctity of the court. And I believe that very soon we will already hear from NBA, demanding that DSS boss, that's Yusuf BG, should be suspended. But we've not heard anything yet from the presidency in respect to their request. So we are still waiting to see what will be the outcome soonest. But that's where we're going to leave it. Go to our comment section and let us interact. What do you have to say about what is currently going on in the case of Sowore?